Hey everyone, this is Steve Bishop from ProgrammingMadeEasy.com and of course, Gartman Technical Services. So today I'm going to bring to you guys another In My Opinion video where again, you guys get to ask me whatever kinds of questions that you'd like. So if you have a question that you want me to talk about, just any real topic that you'd like, it doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be software related or IT related. It could be just about anything. Just feel free to drop me a comment in the comment section below this video and I will certainly get to it. So today's question actually comes from a good friend of mine. This comes from Arlie Larimore, and he's a good friend of mine. We've gone out and we've played Pokemon Go together. We get together all the time. Went to his wife's birthday party not too long ago and I had a lot of fun. So Arlie has kind of a question for me because he knows that I'm in the industry. I do this YouTube thing, and he's trying to get, with some of his friends, he's trying to get a similar podcast station going. So I might just go ahead and drop in a link to that in the description below this video. So if you guys want to check out Arlie's podcast, you guys can certainly do that. So Arlie asks me about podcasting. He says, would you ever want to start a podcast? If so, what would you want it to be about? Who would you try and target? Who would you try and your target audience wise? Would there be any things you would limit talking about, like hot button topics? Would you want to do daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or once a month? Aside from not having video, it's pretty similar to posting videos on YouTube. So, Arlie, thank you so much. I should say the Arlie Larimore. Thank you so much for your question, man. And I'm sure that there are quite a few people who actually watch my videos and wonder, how did I kind of get my start? They're kind of interested maybe in doing their own thing, doing maybe a podcast like what you do, or doing a YouTube channel like I do. They might be asking kind of the same things, like how do you talk about different topics and how do you target your audience and such? Well, for me, my start came just because I liked doing Access and I found not really very good material for Access in YouTube. Like, I wanted to watch videos on YouTube because it was free for me to learn how to do Access. And I found that there was not a lot of material on it that was really what I considered quality. There's a lot of stuff out there, but it was, and no offense to anybody who's from a foreign country, but I have a difficult time understanding some of the foreign accents. So, and a lot of the videos that were available on YouTube, because they're free, have a pretty thick accent. So it was hard for me to understand a lot of them, even though they're probably very knowledgeable. It was difficult for me to follow. And then there were other videos that, might have had a very good English, might be able to speak English very well, but it was very difficult for me to follow along with them. Sometimes they were, they didn't know quite how to present very well in a way that kind of flowed. And I kind of had a background in teaching. I've done some teaching. Many of you guys know I was formerly a golf instructor, so I know how to communicate. I know how to talk to people. I know how to try to figure out, how they work. Well, when I decided to do these videos, I really didn't have any intention that this was going to be as big a channel as it is. And I'm definitely not one of the bigger channels out there. There's guys out there that, have been doing this for a shorter amount of time and have twice the amount of viewers that I do. And I'm not envious of them in any way. I'm just pointing out that my channel is not all that big. So I'm very thankful for the people who do come to my channel and do listen to what I have to say and who, watch the videos that I make. And everybody's, well wishes are truly, I'm thankful for them. I'm glad that you guys are there and they're very well received. So I don't mean to keep gushing on about this because I want to kind of get to Arlie's question here, but I didn't really have any intention of this becoming a big thing. And it's slowly kind of taken over more and more of my time. So if I ever wanted to start a podcast, what would I want it to be about? I would love to just do whatever I like. I like these In My Opinion videos where I get to just kind of express myself and talk about things. And I would probably like to do it with someone kind of as a back and forth, someone that I had a good rapport with, that we could kind of talk about things. And personally, I'd love there to be like no restrictions on what we talked about. I would love it to be anything and everything goes, because then people tend to find you more genuine when you feel comfortable and when you feel like you can open up about your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs about everything. They get a sense of you, they get a sense of your personality, and they start to accept that. Even if they disagree with you at times, as long as you are genuine, people will tend to understand. So I would say when it comes to trying to pick topics and things to, hot button topics or limiting what you talk about, I'd say no. Hit those hot button topics, because quite frankly, hot button topics are what people listen to, right? People, even if they're angry about it, even if they disagree with you, they're coming in there listening. And that's the important thing, right? That's the whole point of doing a podcast or doing a YouTube channel or doing a vlog or anything like that. You want eyeballs, you want earlobes to be listening to you. You want more people. And the more hot button the topic is, the more people will come and listen, because it's a hot button topic, right? That's kind of why they exist. So I would say don't avoid anything. Don't avoid any topic. You might want to consider your audience as far as like, are you trying to go to 18 or under? If so, then obviously there are a lot of topics that are off base, right? You wouldn't want to talk about, I guess there was a real popular show in America for a long time. I think it was called Sex Line or something like that, where there was a doctor who would talk to teenagers about sex. And that would seem like a really bad idea. That would seem like a terrible, terrible concept for a show. You shouldn't be talking to underage kids about something that, is really kind of something more for adults. But it was a working show because there's so much pressure on the teenagers to not talk about sex and not think about it and not do these things, that having an outlet to talk about those things was a remarkable thing for them. And they would come on all the time and they would talk about stuff that you wouldn't really think that teenagers should be talking about. So, that was a perfectly valid show. It was and especially that it was hosted by a doctor, somebody who was very knowledgeable and knew how to talk about the psychology of sex, not just the act itself, and not being crude, right? He tried to be more logical about it and not try to get, allowing for emotions and stuff. Obviously, he's a psychologist, but just trying to not allow it to get, rambunctious. And unfortunately, that type of show led on to other ones later on down the road that did get that way. And it was kind of unfortunate that particular station has kind of gone down the road that they have. I think it's less for teens and more for just, exploiting eyeballs. And I think it's a little too bad. But anyway, so the bottom line is your audience does obviously affect some of the items that you want to talk about. Now, for you, and I know you, Arlie, you have a pretty wide variety of things that you want to talk about, probably most especially about games. That's kind of your type of thing. Doing gaming, that's a big deal for you. So I would say, whatever you like to talk about is what you should talk about, and your audience will find you, because whatever you like, I guarantee you there's a bunch of people out there that like it too. Access, for example, I'm going to go back to my situation. I didn't think that there was all that much of an audience for Access, because Access is kind of one of those it's kind of one of those niche things. It's not a programming environment that everybody gets into or everybody even knows about as a programming environment. But there are a few people that do get it, and I like Access. I wanted to kind of show people how to use Access, and there were enough people that had the same interest that I do and still have the same interest that I do, that they found my videos, they find it informative, and then they come and watch it. And then they eventually move on to videos like this one, and they want to see what my opinion is about other things and other topics. So it's a good outlet for me. It's a good outlet for them. They can come to me and ask me questions like this one. And I think having that give and take, that ability to just talk to people, as myself, not trying to be fake, just being a genuine person, talking about the things that I think, even if people disagree with me, lends more people to want to listen to me because they understand that I'm genuine about it. And hopefully I'm imparting some knowledge to them too. That's my hope. That's the whole reason I do this channel, is to try to impart some of the knowledge that I have on them and maybe get them to think about things and provoke them. And if they can come back to me and give me knowledge and give me wisdom, that would be great too. I would love that. I kind of wish more of my commenters and my viewers would actually come back to me and say, hey, I learned about this. Like, that's how I found out about rubber duck. That's a great example right there. I didn't even know rubber duck existed until somebody prompted me. One of my commenters prompted me to go look for something and go investigate something. So, the more feedback you can get from your viewers and your listeners, the better, because then it drives the content of your show, and then it gets, it tends to grow the number of eyeballs and the number of earlobes that are listening to what you have to say, because they get as interested in things as you are, especially if you're excited about it. And if your enthusiasm stays high while you're talking about those things, it will come across in the way that you talk about things, in the way that that you do your presentations, because you care about these things. And that's what people like. They like to hear things that they care about be talked about by someone who cares about it. We kind of have this, we like to commiserate, right? We like to all kind of have these things that these topics that we like to hear about because it interests us. So that's why I say a wide variety of topics is good. I would say, really leave nothing off the table unless you really think that it doesn't hit the audience that you're going for. I have a pretty good demo. I have the 21 through 35 to 40 range. That's my target group, and that's primarily because that's just the type of people that really care about programming and software development. And that just kind of grew organically. It's not like I tried to target that audience, but because my content does pertain to that general type of person, that general age group, that's typically who come. As well as, it's mostly male driven. There's not a lot of women that watch my channel, which I wish there was some way to fix that. I would love to have more women, but there really isn't any way to do that, right? There isn't, unless I started bringing my wife on here to start doing some of these things and talking about things that women like to talk about and hear about. It's probably not going to bring a lot of women into this fold. So maybe that's something I'll do a little bit later. I've actually kind of had some discussions about with my wife about bringing her on every once in a while to talk about things. But I don't have the goal of bringing on women into my demographic just right now. I just want to talk about what I want to talk about. So for you, Arlie, my advice is just whatever fires you up, whatever interests you, talk about that. And your audience will find you. I don't pick my audience. I don't target a particular group of people. I just talk about what interests me, and they come and watch my videos. So that's what I would suggest to you. Would I do daily, weekly, or bi-weekly, or once a month? So I typically try to do one of these In My Opinion videos at least once a week. And there's a few different reasons for doing that. Number one, it's because it keeps my audience getting content, right? They constantly get something that they can view. I also try to release at least one tutorial a week as well, which I think also helps drive it. So I'm trying to get 2 videos done per week, but on different purposes, right? This In My Opinion series is to talk about whatever it is that I want to talk about, or whatever it is that my audience wants me to talk about, actually. And then doing the tutorials is purposeful, right? I'm doing that so that people will have information and knowledge. So typically I try to do at least one video on each one of those veins once a week. I think if you get doing any less than that, like bi-weekly or monthly, you're not really going to pick up much of an audience. And also, the larger your catalog, right? The larger the number of podcasts that you have that people could possibly come to and listen to and find you with is really important. The more of them that you do, the more chances are that you're going to hit upon a topic somebody's going to be searching for, and they'll eventually come and find you because you you did something on that particular topic. So if you're looking to build an audience, that's one area I would say you really need to work on, is the quantity of the podcasts need to be pretty big, so that you can have a lot of content that viewers and listeners can come find you because you're hitting on one of those hot button topics. But also the content on each one of those needs to be good enough to retain that audience, right? It needs to be interesting enough that they want to continue to listen to you again on other topics. And then you need to make sure that you're labeling things like your title, descriptions, any tags that you can put on those things. They all need to be very honed in on whatever the topic is that you talk about during that discussion. And finally, I would say along with that, going along with that same thread, try to keep your discussions, especially for podcasts, as limited to that one topic as possible. Okay, if you go into multi discussions, you start talking about everything under the sun in every single podcast, then there's no particular reason why somebody would find that podcast, right? You want to have a particular subject matter that you're discussing in that podcast that would be the reason someone would come to listen to that podcast. That way you can put it in the description, you can put it in the title, you can add it to the tags, and it makes it easier for them to search for you guys based upon that topic, right? Because everybody's finding you based upon keywords. They're going to do a Google search, they're going to do a Bing search or a YouTube search or whatever the podcast search that they're going to be finding you at. They're going to be putting in keywords to try to find about a topic. And your content needs to be specific to that topic. And if you get to it really late in the audio, they're gonna stop listening to you within the first few seconds because you're not talking about it. So make sure you're hitting that topic up front right away. Get the earlobes listening to you because you're talking about that topic right off the bat that they came searching for. Then maybe after that, you can talk about a few other things that maybe, correlate in some way to the topic, but at least that way they can understand that they can find you to listen about that one particular subject. Then, other people, the next audio that you do, the next podcast that you do it about a different topic and, talk about that with some quality, and again, try to be right at, get to the point as soon as possible, like get to the thesis of your audio, of your podcast as soon as you can, so that again, you draw in those earlobes. So that would be my advice to anybody trying to start out something like a podcast or a video, trying to start out a YouTube channel. Try to, be as specific during your, in your content, try to be as specific to the topic as you can, get to it as quickly as you can, and then maybe towards the end of the video, bring up some of those other things, or towards, end of your podcast, bring up those other things. And, it's also good to have, where you relate to maybe previous things that you've done. So if you do a video or a podcast, I should say in this case, and you kind of talk at the end of that podcast about something you discussed previously, then you can tell people how to go listen to that other audio recording, right? That's kind of what you want to do, because that means that you're driving people back to other content within your channel. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys. I hope that helps my viewers. I hope that that helps you out, Arlie. And, you can always call me up anytime, man. You can always, find me on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And you know where to reach me. If you have any other questions about stuff like that, I'd be more than willing to help you guys out. Maybe I'll even come on your show one time. So also, Arlie, send me the link to your podcast so that I can put it in the description of this video, and I can let my viewers, if they want to check you out, they can go listen. Okay? So anyway, if you guys have any other questions, please, again, feel free to drop me those questions in the comment section below this one, because I need those questions. Without your questions, I don't have any topics to talk about. So please keep sending me those questions. All right. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. I'd like to give special thanks to James McCoy, whose kind and generous donations have made this video possible. If you would also like to contribute, please visit us on patreon.com/programming made easy.